Hey guys, I'm back this week with another real-time recipe for you. This one is going out to feline overload. You left me a comment a couple of weeks ago wanting to know a different way to make gnocchi. Sounds like you're in a bit of a rut making it the same way week after week, and I'm going to show you a new way to try it. I really love this recipe because it's quick, it's easy, it's inexpensive, and again, it comes together in 15 minutes or less, starting now. So, the first thing we're going to do is get our water boiling. Now, when you're boiling water and you want to save time, two tricks for you. One, start with water that's already hot. I know that sounds like common sense, but you'd be surprised. If you start with water that's already hot, it's going to get boiling a lot quicker. Then we're going to add a little bit of salt. That is a great way to get your pasta to be nicely flavored. And then the other tip for you is to put a lid on your pot. That's going to help that water boil up a lot quicker than if you don't have a lid. Okay, so while that's boiling, we're going to get over here and prep our vegetables. So this dish has three of my most favorite vegetables. They are all the Italian heat-loving vegetables. They all grow in the same area of my garden, and there is that expression, what grows together goes together. So that's a good thing to remember. So the other tip when sauteing vegetables is you always want to start with the one that's going to take the longest. So for us here, we've got a red pepper, a zucchini, and some tomatoes. So the one that's going to take the longest is the red pepper. I'm going to show you how to cut a red pepper. That's really easy. What you're going to do first is lob off each side. Oops, the seed's going. Okay. Then just clean out any of the seeds and shake them out. Sometimes you find little things in the pepper. Yeah, you don't want that. Okay. And then just cut the bottom off and the top. And then you're going to use all these good bits of the pepper. You don't want to waste that. And then what you're left with is the core and the top. Easiest way to cut a pepper. Okay. So, another trick when trying to cut things and keep it quick is you want to dice them. So, vegetables will just cook quicker if they're smaller. So we're going to cut these into a nice dice. Just like that. Pick them up. Now this recipe will feed 3 people comfortably because there are a lot of vegetables in it. So the more vegetable you have, the more filler you have, and the more that everybody feels full. And also gnocchi is extremely filling. It's delicious, but it can be a bit heavy. So it is good to cut it a bit with some vegetables. Okay. There we go. And then we're just gonna give that a quick dice. I also love this recipe because it reminds me of when I had my first apartment and I had moved in with my sister. My sister and I are 13 months apart, so they call us Irish twins because we look a lot alike and we act a lot alike, especially just 13 months apart. So we had no money and we were always looking for something that was quick and filling, and we would always go for the gnocchi pesto. So this recipe brings back a lot of memories for me. Okay, so we're just gonna give that a dice. And then we want to get that going because we want the peppers to be cooking while we're prepping the rest of the vegetables. You're going to add a little bit of olive oil. You're going to get that going, and you're going to add your peppers. And don't you love our new camera angle? We now have the cooktop, so you can see much better. And that is all thanks to all of you guys that left me all the comments the last time saying you couldn't see in the pot. I felt so bad. I wanted to make sure you could see. Now we are going to cut our zucchini. So the zucchini is the second firmest vegetable that we have. So that's why we want to cut that next, because that also needs a little bit more time to cook than the tomato. So here is my favorite way to cut a zucchini. You're going to lob off the stem and a little bit of the end. Then you're going to cut it in half and then cut that part in half. Then you want to put the flat side down. It's always easier to cut something when it's stable. So you just want to stabilize it like that. And then we are going to cut little matchsticks. And then that will allow us to cut a nice dice. And this is what we want because a nice dice is going to cook a lot quicker than a big chop. Okay? So off we go. Oh, you can hear our peppers sizzling away. All right. There. See, now with this recipe, there is a lot of multitasking going on because you got to keep your eyes on your peppers. It's okay. And at this point, we want to check our water. See, so once it starts to kind of steam and bubble, that's good enough for the gnocchi. The gnocchi, unlike other pasta, cooks very, very quickly. That's why I love it, especially for a weeknight meal. It's not like a pasta where you really want rapid boiling water. Just a nice little simmer will do the trick. And then we're just going to pour it in there. Making sure I don't burn myself. So we're gonna put the lid on and we're gonna let that cook. Okay. So the zucchini now we're gonna go in. These beautiful vegetables. Okay. There we go. And then we're going to add a little pepper and a little bit of salt. Now, while that's cooking, we are going to get on chopping the tomatoes. So, the thing with tomatoes that you really need to know is you don't want to put them in the refrigerator. Tomatoes hate to be refrigerated. It just really ruins their texture. So when you go to the store and you buy a tomato, the best thing to do is to keep it on your counter or your windowsill to ripen. Or if you get these little cherry tomatoes, I really recommend keeping them in these little baskets. So you can kind of see. That way, they're well ventilated, so you're not going to get any moldy tomatoes. They'll ripen as they sit out, and they're just going to be so much better than if you pop them in the fridge. Just a little tip for you. All right. Now, if you're looking at all of this and you think, well, Beth, this looks perfectly lovely, but I don't have time to cut all these vegetables. I totally get it, and there are nights where I don't have time to cut all these vegetables either. So what I will do is I will make this recipe with just the tomatoes. It's really good even with just the tomatoes. They're quick, they're easy, and sometimes I don't even cut them. I'll just throw them in whole. So if you're really pressed for time, you have my permission, you can do that. All right, so we're done with our tomatoes. We are going to throw those in the pot. All right. So now we have all of our vegetables. Looking beautiful. Okay. Okay, now it's time to add the pesto. So, I love homemade pesto. It is great, but really store-bought is perfectly fine. Especially if you buy it in the jar, you can keep it in your pantry and it's always good to go. But I will say this, if you open it, you do have to refrigerate it. Okay, so I usually will do 2 to 3 good tablespoons of pesto, because I really love pesto. But you can just do 1. The idea is really just to coat the vegetables. And pesto, because there is cheese in it, will kind of burn if the flame is too hot, so you want to kind of keep it low. There. And if you wanted to make this vegan, you could by just using a pesto that doesn't have cheese in it. And the best way to do that is to make your own. So you could just take some fresh basil, whirl it up in a food processor with about a clove of garlic and some pine nuts, and then slowly add some olive oil. That will then create a beautiful pesto that has no cheese in it. So if you're vegan and you don't eat cheese, you could still enjoy this dish. Okay, so that is that. And then the final step is just to add a clove of garlic. So I'm a big fan of the garlic press. It makes mincing garlic so much easier and quicker. See how quick that is? Which is great for a weeknight meal when you don't have a lot of time for chopping. Okay. Now we are going to check on our gnocchi, which is perfectly done. See how that timed out so well? By the time you prep all your vegetables and they're done, the gnocchi is done. All the more reason to start with the gnocchi and multitask. That's the secret to a quick weeknight meal. Okay, another tip that I love about this is one of my favorite kitchen tools. It is a spider strainer. You can get them in a kitchen store for a few dollars. Watch this, we're not even gonna use a colander. You don't even have to. You're just gonna let the gnocchi drain and pop it into your pot. And if some of that water transfers to the sauce, that is okay, because that water is filled with lots of nice starch that's going to just help your sauce become smooth and delicious. Okay, so we're gonna get all of that. Beautiful. There we go. Okay, so you just wanna coat that well to make sure that all the pesto is mixing with all the gnocchi and all of your beautiful vegetables. Okay, this is done. So now it is ready to plate. So what we are gonna do, we're gonna take shallow bowl. And we're gonna spoon out some of this pesto gnocchi. I like to make sure that I get enough veggies in each serving, right? There we go. Final step is we are going to add a little bit more of Parmesan cheese, just because cheese is always good. And a little bit more fresh cracked pepper. And then a little bit of sliced basil on top. And just because it's a weeknight meal doesn't mean it can't look pretty. So then we're also gonna garnish. And there you have it, another weeknight meal in under 15 minutes or less. I hope you guys will give this one a try and let me know what you think. I think you'll find that this one will soon become part of your weekly rotation. I'll see you soon, bye.